there is a Chinese curse that says, may you always get what you want. And what that curse implies is we come up with things that we think we want, but really the universe has something much more important for us. And it's interesting because when I started my journey as a young adult, I wanted to be an actress. And life took a turn. I didn't succeed there. I started rescuing animals, which led to me opening the Gentle Barn. And I look back and say, thank goodness I didn't get what I want. Thank goodness acting didn't work out. And thank goodness I found my way to the Gentle Barn, which was my dream since I was 7.
Welcome to Rover Says, the podcast where we share stories about the weird and wonderful things animals say when they open up to pet psychics. I'm your host, Nancy Aziz.
And I think the same thing happened with Magic. He wanted to be a performer horse in the circus, but really he found something much more important and much more rewarding when he became the leader of our herd and took care of a family.
That's Ellie Laks, founder of the animal sanctuary, The Gentle Barn, and a lifelong animal communicator who uses her gift to help heal the sanctuary's animals, including one stunning young horse who had his own ideas about how a horse should live.
Oh, God, he was stunning. He was a paint horse. So he was white, but he was a tri-paint. So he was white with swirls of brown and black. He had black and brown in his mane and in his tail. And he was a medicine hat horse. In Native American culture, horses that are born with white faces and a brown or black bonnet on their forehead and ears are called medicine hat horses. And they're horses that are alleged to bring great fortune and blessing to their people. And Magic certainly did that for the Gentle Barn.
Most of the horses at the sanctuary are older. Some were riding horses who got hurt and were rescued from slaughter. Others were abused or neglected. Magic, on the other hand, arrived at the Gentle Barn at just 7 months old. He came from a movie industry trainer who'd seen the flashy young horse and just had to buy him.
So the man was immediately impressed by his looks and said, I'm going to take him home to teach him tricks for the movie industry, which Magic ate up like potato chips. He loved the mental stimulation. He loved the applause and the praise. He loved performing. He loved it, loved it, loved it. But a while later, the man went through a divorce, and in the divorce, they agreed to sell all of their animals off. And the man had a special connection with Magic, so instead of just selling him, he brought him to the Gentle Barn.
Magic wasn't doing well when he first arrived. He wouldn't eat or drink. Ellie was worried she could lose him.
So I was very concerned about his well-being, and I put a chair in his stall, and I parked myself in there, and I sang to him, and I did energy healing, and I talked to him, and I read to him, and I told him of what his life was going to look like. I kind of painted the picture of how beautiful his life would look like if he can recover. Little by little, he got stronger. He started, I guess, being impressed with the painting I was picturing, and he chose to live. Thank goodness. And I was really excited about this because, again, we've never had a baby horse before. And all the horses that come to the Gentle Barn, aside from Magic, they come in ruined, destroyed, having hardship, right? So here was this baby horse. And I was so excited about the idea that he would never be ridden. He would live at the Gentle Barn for his entire life. He would have horses to play with. He would have pastures to play in. He would have trails to explore. And he would have all this freedom, something that other horses never get.
Perfect life.
Yeah. I know. I thought so too. And I was so excited about his life. By the time Magic was 5 years old, he was racing to the rails every time he saw me coming, putting his teeth on the bars and sucking in air, which is called cribbing. And it's a way that horses self-soothe. Now, up until that point, the horses that I saw cribbing were horses that were, fancy riding horses kept in 12 by 12 stalls alone, never able to graze or socialize with other horses. And the only time they're out doing something is when they're being ridden or they're performing. And it's a very hard life. And so those horses are very prone to cribbing because they have nothing else to do. I was so caught off guard and surprised by Magic's cribbing because he literally had the life that any horse would dream of.
Yeah.
So when I saw him doing that, I said, Magic, what are you doing? What's going on? And he very angrily and passionately said, you have ruined my life and you've stolen my destiny.
Oh my goodness.
And I said, Magic, what are you talking about? And he said, look at me. I was born in the most beautiful body. I was born to perform. I was born to hear the thunderous applause of thousands. And instead, I have ended up here in a dusty pasture with old people, meaning the other
Mhm.
horses. And he said, I'm bored to tears and you've ruined my life.
Wow.
And here I was thinking I was giving him something so
Mhm.
extraordinary.
So what did you say?
So I said, Magic, I'm so sorry to hear that. I thought I came up with the life that any horse would dream of.
Mhm.
You know, you're hand walked on the trails every single day for miles. You run around, you have bouncy balls and you have toys and you have enrichment and you have other horses to play with and to be with. And you're groomed from head to toe every single solitary day. And we give you bubble baths in the summer. And I just thought you would be so
Mhm.
happy. And he said, no, I am not happy. And if you don't correct this, I am going to get sick and die because I'm not going to stay here like this.
Oh my goodness.
So I started calling around to movie trainers and Cirque du Soleil and fancy training ranches and competition ranches, seeing if maybe somebody would want to work with him. They said that they either had their own horses, they didn't have room for more, they bred their own horses, they just, nobody had,
Yeah.
nobody was looking for a new
Mhm.
horse.
Try as she did, Ellie couldn't find an outlet for Magic to live the life in the limelight he craved. So she hatched another plan to help him stay stimulated and hopefully keep him happy.
We have a horse trainer that works with the gentle barn when horses come in terribly, terribly traumatized. Instead of just putting them in a pasture with their trauma unresolved, we kind of take them back to the scene of the crime and we reinvent not the abuse, of
Mhm.
course, but the riding, right? So if
Mhm.
their abuse happened under saddle, we'll have someone ride them and they'll be able to talk about their sadness, their grief, their
Mhm.
trauma, their pain, their anger, and get it out of their system and realize that it's not happening to them anymore. And then they're fully free and fully
Mhm.
healed, and they can live a wonderful retirement at the Gentle Barn when they're done with their rehabilitation. So I talked to her about Magic and said, I mean, at that time, I don't think my dogs even knew how to sit down. Like, I don't teach my animals tricks. They get to live with me and I get to serve them. And of course, I demand good behavior from them, of
Right.
course. But I'm not one that needs my animals to do all of these things to make me happy.
Mhm.
That's just not how I live.
Mhm.
And so I explained to our trainer that we have this very unique situation and he's wanting more stimulation. He wants to learn to do tricks. He wants to perform. He wants applause. And can she start working with him? And she was thrilled.
Mhm.
She worked with him for 14 years.
Yeah.
She was thrilled to do it. And so together, and this is, I think, the coolest part of his story. It wasn't that the trainer was teaching him,
Mhm.
it was that he was teaching the trainer. He would bow
Mhm.
and then tell her that she has to come up with a cue. He would nod his head
Mhm.
yes or
Yeah.
no and tell her that she had to ask him
Mhm.
questions. He kissed people on the mouth or the cheek. He hugged
Mhm.
with his
Mhm.
neck. He counted with his legs. He came up with brilliant tricks that then we came up with the cues, and then we created this little show,
Uh-huh.
and people would watch, and people that came out for tours or open to the public Sundays, they would applaud him, and then he got to feel like he was doing something and got the applause, and kind of win-win. Everybody was
Mhm.
happy.
Problem solved, or so Ellie thought, until Magic let her know he needed more.
But unfortunately, that wasn't enough for him. It wasn't. I don't know. It wasn't enough. So he continued to complain. He did end up colicking and going to the hospital 3 different times. And I twisted myself into a pretzel, trying to make him happy,
Mhm.
trying to please
Mhm.
him, trying to make more calls, trying to get more people. We have a main location and we have a healing center, and the healing center is much bigger. And so at one point I brought him to the healing center so he could have different companions and different staff and different trails. And that worked for like 4 months. He was like, oh yeah, this is much better. And then after 4 months, it all became routine again, and he started complaining again. And finally, the third time he ended up in the hospital, I said, Magic, I can't take this anymore. Like, I've called Cirque du Soleil. I have called every single animal trainer for the movies. I have called every single training barn. I'm not going to give you away to a stranger. As much as you beg, I'm not going to do it because I know what could befall you, even when you don't. I said, I have given you a trainer. I've given you an audience. I have given you 2 properties to go back and forth on. If I take you for walks every single day, we play hide and seek with you, you run on the trails. If what I'm providing for you is not truly enough for you, then I'm sorry. Maybe you'd be better off gone. I don't know what to tell you. I can't do more than I've done. And I called his bluff. And it worked because calling his bluff kind of shut him up, and he stopped complaining.
And right around that time, something else happened that helped Magic find his true destiny. Caesar, the leader of the barn's herd, passed away.
When Caesar passed away, I went up to Magic and I said, Magic, it's your turn if you choose it. If you don't want it, I totally understand. But if you choose it, you can be the leader. This family can be yours. And I said to him, this is not about you going first or getting the best of things or just using your power and wit to get what you want. Leadership is about serving others, caring for others, and putting others first. And if you're willing to do that, then you'll have a very beautiful family and a very beautiful purpose. And he looked me in the eye and he said, I'm ready for this. And I said, okay. And he stepped up as the leader. And instead of causing fights, he started mitigating them. Instead of pushing his way past so he could go first, he started going last and allowing his family to go first. He started protecting one of our horses that was blind. He really matured and he grew up, and he started realizing that taking care of others is way more gratifying than superficial applause. And he became the leader of our horse herd, and he stopped wanting to go other places. He wanted to be home because he wanted to be with his family. And, it was really beautiful. I would come down very late at night just to do one more kind of check before I went to bed. And very often I would see the whole family of horses and donkeys sound asleep, laying on the ground, and he would be the one standing up, keeping watch. And he became an exquisitely and incredible leader. And we're all very, very proud of him.
Being the herd leader also meant Magic could be with Whisper, the mare he loved, something he couldn't do when Caesar was in charge. Ellie describes the first time Magic could be in the same pasture with Whisper.
And he ran straight to Whisper. And they wrapped their necks around each other and started grooming each other. I mean, you could literally, it was like a scene in a movie where you can hear the violins playing and everybody's crying. It was beautiful. And since that day, he was inseparable with Whisper, and he had waited years to be with her, and they were finally together. And Whisper was much older than him, and Whisper passed away about a year before he did. And he stayed. He was totally brokenhearted, but he stayed out of a sense of responsibility to his family. And a few months before he passed away, we got a new horse who was instantly the matriarch. She kind of came in and said, hey, I'm the boss. And everyone said, okay, no problem. He became the leader of the family. And he kind of introduced her and worked with her and got her situated. And once it was clear that she had totally taken over, that's when he got sick.
Magic was suffering from a gastrointestinal infection at the hospital. Ellie tried to comfort him.
And in the hospital, I was saying, Magic, we gotta get you home. And he said, I don't think I'm going to come home. And I said, why? And he said, because it's time for me to be with Whisper. And I said, but Magic, your family needs you. And he said, no, they don't. That other horse has taken over. She's going to take care of everybody. and I want to go be with Whisper. And I literally felt Whisper standing next to us the entire time I was at the hospital, and she took him home. So on one hand, we were grief-stricken, given his age, given the unexpectedness of his passing, given our love for him. On the other hand, the fact that he pined for Whisper for so many years finally got her and became the leader and realized that giving to others is more important than superficial applause, and chose, when the herd was ready, when there was a new matriarch, making sure that his family was taken care of, he chose to go to Whisper. I mean, you can't make that stuff up. That is a beautiful fairy tale, and I'm really happy for him.
Thanks so much for listening to Rover Says. If you like the show, please rate it and share. It helps other animal lovers find the show. If you'd like to hear more about magic and the other animals at the Gentle Barn, check out Ellie Laks' soon-to-be-released book, Cow Hug Therapy. And as always, send us comments or suggestions. And until next time, keep talking with your animal friends.